the many hedges that have been made here?
Das ist das eine, nicht? Und dazu kommt ja eben auch die klimatischen Dinge.
Certainly that is one thing. And additionally, there are also climatic aspects. The microclimate that noticeably changes because these hedges hold back the wind. The wind is broken, so it's calmer in the fields between the hedges, and less wind means that the dew can settle. So the hedges help that a certain amount of moisture remains, which would otherwise evaporate. This is solved here in the most ideal way. The principle with the brush, which otherwise is perhaps considered mere waste material, is to call a hedge into life, which meanwhile has proven itself and been modified a bit. At the beginning we thought, let's just get going. The birds will come and create their own hedges when they pass the seeds they have eaten. That can go well, but not always. We use the brush as protection and plant pioneer shrubs and trees in its protection, such as native shrubs and trees that we know from the edge of the woods: hazelnut, hornbeam, and hedge maple trees, white hawthorn, blackthorn, wild roses, the whole fullness of our glorious shrubs and trees. They are children from the edges of the woods. They are used to a calm microclimate and are, of course, thankful when we give them brush as protection, aside from the fact that the deer and rabbits don't graze so quickly on these shrubs and young trees. When you see them here in the hedges, you see how content they are with the protection behind them. Here is a blackthorn. It couldn't be any more lush and beautiful.
Hier etwa die Schlehe, satter und schöner kann sie gar nicht sein.
Guck mal, da ist schon sogar eine Beere drin.
Look, there's already a berry on it.
They are so sour that you pucker your face when you try one. They're called sloe berries, and they contain lots of vitamins. You can make jam, juice, even schnapps from them. If you don't do that, you can just leave them on the bushes and shrubs. Then the winter birds rejoice. In autumn the redwings come, and then the fieldfares, both from the thrush family. And word gets around that there's sloe berries here.
Die Pflanzen haben ihre Begleiter, auch die Büsche. Man sagt, dass
The plants have their companions. It's said that each native shrub has at least 20 kinds of animals in its retinue, so to speak. And that's why we want to make an effort to plant them. So native plants and animals have their companions.
Tierarten im Gefolge hat.
I'd like to have a really close look at Setcha Binji's hedge.
Ich kann das abschätzen, wie viel Arbeit das gemacht hat.
I can appreciate how much work was done here and how much care was taken to create something like this, and it's really optimal. And underneath this hedge, when the brush there slowly rots down, a kind of fermentation of the soil develops. The soil, and we have tested this, which was perhaps hard as a stone before, if it contained a lot of clay, you can put your hand right into it afterward. Your hand practically falls into it because it has been processed by all the microorganisms, insects, worms, etc. In addition, through the rotting of these branches, nutrients are gradually released to the shrubs. Several positive effects are the result. Anywhere else, a thistle is a weed, in the garden, for example. But they are the most beautiful things for our animal world. As long as they are still blooming, they're filled with animals. All the bumblebees come, the butterflies, the hoverflies, and now, well, now they're a bit damp. They'll dry again, then they will fluff up and the seeds will fly away with the wind. Or like yesterday, bird friends come that specialize in harvesting the teeny tiny seeds on them. There is something very, very good in them, thistle seed oil, which many know about. It was here yesterday, the specialist, the goldfinch, also the European goldfinch, our most colorful tiny songbird. It came flying here with its typical finch way of flying, and a few others came right after it. with their call that gave them their name in German, Stiglet, Stiglet.
You were also here yesterday with a group of school children, and you showed them a tree island.
Dann sind wir hier durch das hohe Gras gestiebelt, hin zur Eberesche.
Yeah, we tramped through the high grass to the mountain ash trees. Here's one, but it's not poisonous. No one eats a kilogram of them because they're so bitter. And if someone has really eaten too much of them, then the Low German name is right, because in Low German they're called
Schnell wieder durch. Ja, ist natürlich großartig, wenn zu der Hecke auch noch Feldgehölze kommen wie hier.
Of course, it's really great when in addition to the hedges, there are also tree islands in the fields. Also, as shelter for the wild deer and other animals, they can find shade here, but also protection. When they're connected to the hedges, it couldn't be nicer. And when the whole system is linked with existing woods, then we have this network, which makes it first class. An exchange has to be possible. And when that has been accomplished on this peaceful land, it's really a great thing. And I think we can give much back to our exhausted nature in this way. And it's high time that we did that.
Vieles zurückgeben. Es wird auch Zeit, dass wir das tun. Eine schon etwas ältere Hecke in ihrer ganzen Pracht.
A nice, somewhat older hedge in all its splendor. Here you can see how afterward its shape will be nicely formed. That's something that pleases the eye when there is movement in the forms.
Bewegung.
Here you can see well how the biotopes, woods, fields, meadows, are connected with rows of hedges and tree islands in the fields. It's really great when a hedge is a finger on the hand of the woods.
Es ist schön, wenn die Hecke der Finger an der Hand des Waldes ist.
Downright poetic.
That's happened here in a manifold way. Here comes the finger out of the woods. Such an edge of the woods with underbrush breaks the wind. Hardly anything bad can happen.
Bremst den Wind. Da wird kaum etwas schlimm ausgehen.
Was wünschst du dir so noch?
What do you wish for the future? Do you have a vision?
Ja, was sollte ich mir wünschen, nicht? Dass das Beispiel hier auch ein bisschen Schule macht.
What should I wish for? That the example here plays the role of training others so that more such places may develop. I think we should take to heart the nice image of the butterfly storms. Someone came up with a saying, when in Tokyo, so he said, a butterfly flutters its wings. It can be that a tornado breaks out in Arizona. There are fine connections everywhere in nature. This person was a meteorologist and noticed that his greatest computer calculations didn't always bring him precisely to the goal. It was clear to him that nature calculates in a much, much subtler way, so subtle that a butterfly merely needs to flutter its wings and something totally new happens someplace else.
Und ganz woanders geschieht was Neues.
Also ich bedanke mich.
I want to thank you for this great walk and conversation. I'm glad you were here.
Da nicht für, as we say in Low German.
Ja, der Flügelschlag eines Schmetterlings.
Well, the flutter of a butterfly's wings can trigger a tornado on the other side of the earth. That's about how Heinrich Benjis expressed it. Actually, this means that everything we do can have a far greater effect than we can imagine. But this then means that when on a small piece of land, on a little plot of earth, nature can breathe a sigh of relief and is no longer mistreated, that this might have an effect on another part of the earth, right?
Ja, Silke, davon bin ich überzeugt.
Yes, Silke, I'm convinced of that. The same is true for the animals. When people begin to rescue animals from their misery, when they nourish and lavish care on them, it can draw circles of impact. It could be, for example, that in another place on Earth, people are stimulated, as if by an invisible matrix, to stop eating meat, to rescue animals in need, and thus to make a step toward peace in this world.
Für den Frieden in dieser Welt.
Der Frieden schließt ja auch den Frieden
Peace